January 4th, 2016.
Can you do that one more time? I'm sorry. Yeah.
This is the Bicycle-Pedestrian Advisory Committee regular meeting, January 4th, 2016. Let's do a little roll call. Start over there.
I'm Marcy Greenout with the Public Works Department.
Mike Roberts with the Public Works Department.
David Kritzberg, BPAC.
Miguel Guerrero, BPAC.
Laura McKinney, BPAC. Celeste Burrows, BPAC.
Campbell Campbell, BPAC. Scott Donahue, City Council.
Robert Prince, Vikings Bay.
Tom Modic, Chair.
I'm Kate Richards, BPAC. Nancy Humphrey, Public Works Environmental.
Welcome. You're a new member there.
I am. I'm your new member.
To what? Full 2 years?
Yeah. So, Tom, do you want to, I don't know, give Kate a chance to introduce herself, or?
Sure. Tell us about yourself.
I am a resident of Emeryville since 2012. My husband and I live over at U46. He's on the Parks and Rec Committee. We're about to have a baby in June, so that's really exciting. And we both wanted to get involved in the city because we want to stay here and make it a more family-friendly place. So that's us.
Good.
Yep.
Do we have any public comment for items that are not on our agenda?
I have a
Not
comment and question that's not
Sure.
on the agenda. I'm the public. I had a quick comment and question about the city's use of See-Click-Fix in relation to public works issues, maintenance, and hazards. I have a watch area that encompasses all the East Bay, so I automatically see all the things that come in that are tagged with bicycle. And for maintenance types of issues, it seems like the system's working really well. What I have seen Emeryville doing, and I'm not sure who specifically is responding to those issues, that other cities aren't doing, is when an issue is not a maintenance issue, when it's an engineering or some other type of issue, it's actually getting closed and referred to that individual to come to the BPAC or the Transportation Commission or something like that to raise their concern. My main question was, is that information still being tracked by Public Works, even though that item was closed? Or if it's not, could it be tracked? Because I think the city potentially could be liable if someone brings that to the Public Works or the city's attention as a legitimate safety concern, and then that is basically closed without any attention given to it.
Do you want to answer, either of you, or I can?
I don't know enough about
Yeah.
the subject.
Okay, so I can tell you that a couple things came in from you, and the person handling it just didn't realize there should be this other layer, which was not a maintenance layer, but this kind of policy or programmatic kind of a layer of response. So Marcy actually saw that that had happened and talked to me about it, and I talked to the other staff member about it and said, when it's not a maintenance thing, when you can't do it in maintenance, push it over to me, because it isn't appropriate to say come to BPAC with it. It may be something that, you know, that's asking a lot. We can take that information in and handle it. So in future, the procedure is that it should come to me and or Marcy, and then we'll follow up from that sort of programmatic standpoint, in which case it'll be tracked and it won't be closed and
Right.
See-Click-Fix that way.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think in part from a public perception issue, we don't want to discourage people
Yeah.
from
Right.
trying to report these issues, because this is really valuable information from the city standpoint.
Yeah, people on the street.
And referencing the BPAC or Transportation Commission as additional venues for somebody to follow up with would
Yeah.
probably be a good step. in
Good, but
addition.
not just go there, done.
Yeah, and this is something we're working on with Oakland as well in terms of closing issues, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
So
the-
keep me posted if things don't work out that way.
Okay.
So the follow-up question I have to this is, what message will the person writing to See-Click-Fix see? It will no longer say, go to the BPAC, it'll say it's being referred to.
Yeah,
Do you
I
know
don't
this
know.
yet? Okay.
I don't know what they'll see.
Yeah, because it's kind of a recent thing, and it was holidays and stuff, so I think maybe we could just sort of run that through what the process would be to, yeah. And like you say, to make sure it's being tracked and it doesn't get dropped.
Thank you.
I have a public comment.
No, you're a member of the committee. this isn't your
Okay.
time.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Can I just ask, Robert, you had brought up an issue before the holidays about the new cycle track. Did that get addressed? You want to make a comment about that?
The response I received is that the work is still proceeding. The original plans showed green paint at certain locations around the cycle track, and the white paint stencils went down, which typically happens after the green paint, so that left me a little concerned. But I was told that's still happening, so we're just letting it happen. I think the rain is delaying a lot of work, especially with and the cold with relation to paint. So it'll happen when it happens, I guess.
And I haven't been over to check it out with the pavement issue.
Yeah, I was told that would be looked into as well, but it's a hard one to do.
Yeah, it's a bit bumpy, right?
Is that the big issue that we were talking about?
Yeah, I haven't been over to check it out myself.
Yes, it's bumpy. And I was trying not to be the complainer, but it sounds like somebody else noticed it too.
Yeah, from what I understand, I think facilities that cars drive on tend to get pounded down by the weight of the cars a little bit. That doesn't tend to happen as much with bike facilities because they don't have heavy vehicles on
It's a
them.
means and method too. With a narrow path, you can't get a paving machine in, which means you might even that.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much handwork
Mhm.
that was causing the problem.
Any other public comment or items not on the agenda? Okay, so let's move to the approval of the November minutes. Anything to be changed, perhaps? Shall we move approval?
I move to approve the minutes for November 2nd, 2015.
Yeah, should we move it by acclaim? Or whatever they do? So let's move on to our action items.
So we said yes to that?
I didn't hear any no's.
Yeah.
Okay,
Did I
acclamation,
cower everybody into not
Acclamation
saying
is-
no?
lack of a no, okay.
For lack of a no, the measure
Okay.
passed. Sponsorship of Bike to Work Day.
Okay,
Well,
I don't think I need to tell everybody what Bike to Work Day is about, but they're starting earlier this year, which is good. And if we just pass that around, it shows different sponsorship levels. Bike East Bay is getting pretty fancy with their marketing, and I'm sure they would love it if we could step up our donation amount. Last year it was $3,000 to Bike East Bay and $1,000 for us to buy T-shirts and stuff. So I'm not looking for anything to change necessarily.
Does the money come out of Measure B?
Yeah.
And is that fund pretty flush?
It just, it goes for all the bike and ped projects, so.
I think there's about $80,000.
Okay. And you have probably $500,000 you can fund.
So what's that?
I'm just joking, I'm saying we probably have like 4 times that many funds. So that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we give them
Oh.
$7 million a year, so we're not getting too much back, so.
So you can see what their different sponsorship levels are. And at 3,000, it's just, it's between silver, it's between gold, but you know, it is what it is pretty much, so,
We're also a small town.
That's
so-
what I was
yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
And we still get, bags and, some of the giveaways that go in the bags to everybody.
Well, the to everybody.
Because we're at the silver level, it sounds like.
Yeah.
You mean the stuff that Bike East Bay gets directly, they put in, yeah, and then in addition to that, we buy some that's Emeryville specific, and, well, actually, what we're doing now is not putting it in the bag, we're putting it on the tables, but yeah, so
So the difference between our 3,000 and a 5,000 goal is basically our logo on
Right.
a bunch on 12,000 bags.
yes.
That's more than one per resident.
I guess my question is the $1,000 that we are reserving for our own expenditure, or would we get more bang for our buck by giving it to Bike East Bay and getting some of these benefits? And I'm not saying that because I know the answer, that's just my question.
We wouldn't get T-shirts. We have to use that money to buy T-shirts.
Oh, so part of that money buys T-shirts.
Our $1,000, yeah,
Yeah.
quite, that's the biggest chunk.
And our giveaways, the stickers and,
Yeah, the little goodies we
Yeah,
give
yeah.
away.
and.
Yeah, and I guess my question about that is, that's very nice.
Thank you.
People really appreciate it, but I just wonder, like, is that, I guess my question is it serving a purpose? Is there something, we do the same thing every year and it's great and people love it, but is there something we can do that would use that money to promote biking in Emeryville more? I don't know, I don't know the answers to the questions I'm raising, but I'm just wondering.
So you
Could
use
we
that
shake it up in
$1,000 for
some
something
way?
else entirely, not necessarily for Bike to Work Day?
Well, no, but something else on Bike to Work Day. Something other than.
Something Emeryville specific?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe instead of getting hand thingies, and stickers, could we do something Emeryville specific and?
So let me just say, what we do with that $1,000 is something we could discuss separately, because it's not really this issue. This issue is, do you want council to go ahead and approve the usual $4,000, or do you want it to be a different amount? And do you want $3,000 to go to Bike East Bay, or do you want that to be a different amount? And the money that staff gets, we've talked about before in the meetings, and we could certainly, throw that out and, talk about different ideas, and we have time for
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we want to brainstorm on that, maybe this.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
We
have.
could do
What
that
is supposed to be a
in March or
5-minute item
something.
might not be our.
Right, that's a good
our
point.
appropriate
Yeah,
thing.
maybe
We can
that's-
think about that now that you've mentioned it, and
Maybe it's a
Come up
future
with
agenda
something.
item for March. Maybe we don't give out T-shirts to
Yeah,
the.
that's a good idea, let's make it future
Use
agenda.
that money for something else. How many T-shirts? I don't need another T-shirt.
Yeah, yeah,
Gee, unless they're black T-shirts, I think I
That's
counted my
true.
black T-shirts
Oh.
recently.
I'd like to see us sponsor an
About
Emeryville ride
17.
once a year. I think that'd be really great.
so, for this item,
Yes.
I will make a motion that we ask for the $4,000, $3,000 for Bike East Bay and $1,000
Okay.
for us, the city to spend on something to be determined.
Second,
You don't want to up it?
We're a small city.
Okay. Well,
I don't
right there.
know.
We've got a second over here.
yeah.
There.
If this is at silver, I don't think we're gonna get to gold.
so is Laura, who's second?
Ken,
Yeah, okay.
Call the roll. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that
Sounds like it's
unanimous?
unanimous.
Okay. Okay, so, we'll definitely make space on it, space for it on the March agenda. Probably not February, but definitely.
Probably not for the February special meeting that we're
Yeah,
having, huh?
it doesn't exist yet.
Yes, yeah.
No.
mhm.
It's just a figment of our imagination. Okay. Item B, measuring bicycle and pedestrian friendliness at key locations for inclusion in the work plan.
Right, so I just wanted, this is a sort of a follow-up to what we talked about at the last meeting, when we talked about different ways of measuring. Our bike plan references traffic counts that should be done periodically. And we are doing traffic counts when there's a new development, but we're not doing them yet, we haven't done them systematically throughout the system. That is recommended in the bike plan. So we thought about that, and as Miguel noted, and I came across It seems like traffic counts are just one piece of the information that's useful, and the other information is other things about the speeds of the cars, the speed limit of the road, the size of the bike lane, the protection offered bike lanes. And so this kind of developing thing for low stress or levels of traffic stress was developed in San Jose. Berkeley is working extensively now on a project for them, and they're finding that the San Jose model doesn't quite fit, because San Jose has the kind of thing where they have arterial streets that have say 45 miles an hour, they have collector streets that are 35, and they have local streets that are 25. So just by the speed limit, you can see the type of street it is. We don't have that. Berkeley doesn't really have that either. Everything's 25. It doesn't help us.
Except
So,
for 30. We have some 30.
yeah, yeah. So, but it's not like they're differentiated in the same way. So Berkeley, Alta's working right now with Berkeley extensively on sort of fine tuning what it is you need to know, how you can get that information and use it in a way that's more, applicable to our denser, older infrastructure. So it's pretty promising, although it's really kind of a developing, moving target. We got, as I said, I was going to find out how much it would cost. And I asked 3 firms for proposals, essentially. I told them, this is really just for costing. If we were really going to do this, we would go back to you with more specifics for a better proposal, with more lessons learned. And what we found was counts alone, Maurice estimated about $10,000 to do the counts on all the bike boulevards. The level of traffic stress-ish study that we would propose to do instead, that would include counts, so we'd get the counts in that scenario too, and it would cost about $25,000 is what we learned from this call for estimates. So what it would include is things like, as I said, the width of the street, the width of the bike, the type of area, the type of bike infrastructure, whether it's protected, and especially about linking whole bike boulevards, for instance. You're all good, everything's groovy for, say, your 10-year-old to go to school or whatever, and until you get to an unsignaled crossing on San Pablo. Now that takes this from a level 1, nice for kids and everything, to a level 4, really difficult. So you can't really claim the whole route as level 1. You have to then either address the signalization or change the route, or just say it's not, it doesn't meet our criteria and we would have to do something. It just gives you a more 3-dimensional picture of what's going on. So I think where we are is that I was just bringing you the costs, and I know that the CIP budget process is coming, that the mid-cycle adjustment is coming up in the next several months with council, and so what we would do is put one or the other of these potentially on the list of requests, and at whatever you guys recommend that we go forward with, and then see whether we get budget to do it. So I think that's where we stand.
I just wanted to add that in addition to what Nancy mentioned, I don't know if I heard you mention like community meetings or tours. Depending on the consultant, that's something else that would be part of the fee. And so basically with the 3 proposals we got, we could probably choose from a menu of items that we want and ask, find out what it would cost to include this or that or the other thing. And,
right.
With the BPAC input, we could talk about that at some later time. But right now, we're just wanting to get approval.
That's right, and we did ask them, we did say we would want a tour like Berkeley did with members of the community riding and rating their experience and talking to the planners about it. So that would be part of it.
So, is it okay if I comment? So I love the idea of what you're talking about. And what it sounds like to me, because I think when Ken suggested it, what I heard was more something, sort of a maintenance thing to do on a regular basis. And the level of traffic stress sounds more like something to do that that wouldn't change unless the infrastructure changed, so we wouldn't want to do that every year, you know what I mean?
Right.
The counts might change, but the level of traffic stress sounds like a more structural thing. And I'm thinking, I can't remember when our bike plan was last updated and when we're due for the next update. What year?
It was
It was a couple years
2012.
ago, right?
Oh, it's 2012, oh, so
published.
it's gonna be a few years.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking maybe like 2 or 3 years before the next one is due, I would love for us to do exactly what you're talking about, and sort of, I think we could go into that planning process with a much more holistic sense of, okay, because I think we'll be at that level of how do we take Emeryville, we were, when we did the last bike plan, we were trying to get bike infrastructure on the ground, let's get it on the ground, and now let's look at how can we make that stress-free commute for your 10-year-old, or how can we make this a really integrated bike network that really works as a transportation system. And I think the surrounding cities are meeting us. I think we're at a stage where we can do that, but it seems like if we don't have a bike plan for that to feed into, it's just, the information is just gonna sit there, you know what I mean? Like, if we find out, well, we really need to upgrade this intersection on San Pablo, that's a big project. And it would be great to have the new bike plan have ambitious projects like that. I would love that.
And then with San Pablo, we're fighting Caltrans.
Right, so it's an
Yeah.
ambitious, that's what makes it an ambitious project. But what I want to suggest, I love the idea of a bike tour, and I wonder if we could even get I would love to see us spend, honestly, personally, that $10,000 or $25,000 on putting the friggin' signs on Doyle Street,
Yeah.
or whatever.
We
all
have
these-
budget for the signs.
Oh, we do, okay.
We do,
But
yeah.
we have stuff out there that we want to do.
Yes.
And I would love to see us spend that money on that, but I wonder if there's something we can do very cheaply or maybe for free, because I would love for us to bring the community in more, and I like the idea of a community ride, and I wonder if we could have a special BPAC meeting, because it would have to be noticed as a BPAC meeting if we all go, where we go and invite the public to go on a ride with us on a designated route, and also to do a walking tour on a different day, like we did with the bike plan, and maybe do that once a year, and just see how are things changing on the ground, and talk with members of the community on that ride, and get that kind of on the ground feedback. And maybe what we could get from a consultant, if there's a questionnaire about levels of stress, maybe we could buy from them a questionnaire, but we can fill it out. Like we can have, I think some of this we could do without consultants and get feedback, and maybe we wouldn't have a sophisticated way of processing it, but I think it would still be really helpful and much, much, much cheaper. So that's my 2 cents about it.
Yes.
Also, I have a question. If we have consultants doing a separate report on pedestrian friendliness at all of these locations, and then parallel report on bicycle friendliness?
This is a bicycle effort. This is not particularly a pedestrian effort. That's a whole separate issue. And if you want to propose as BPAC that we do pedestrian friendliness, it would be a separate effort, a
Okay.
separate.
Well, anytime we're putting a lot of energy into making sure something is safe and friendly for bicyclists, we really need to do the same for pedestrians. There are a lot of people walking around Emeryville, and a lot more who would walk if it were friendly and safe.
Right, well, then I suggest maybe make a motion, we get that on the agenda, and because that would be a whole different study with a different dollar,
Right. But the UDP paper was pedestrian and bike. but
Which
not-
one?
The one that's called UDP Bicycle Studio.
Yeah, there were like 4 different ones that you sent us.
That one was like all about Washington State stuff. It wasn't Emeryville.
Oh, I sent out, there were
It had a
links
bunch of
from
pedestrian stuff
the
in it.
website, it wasn't stuff that we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's doable, it's a thing that's doable, but it would, you just have to take it on as another separate thing. Because what this is really about bikes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. It was for Greensboro, North Carolina, where they actually tried to do a formula.
Huh.
This big log, huge equation.
Yeah, I think I read that one,
yeah.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think we're gonna go to that level.
Yeah.
What I really liked, that it really simplified, like just getting an overview of the city.
Yeah,
And
broke
here's
it down.
some really good places to bike, but if you want to go anywhere, you got to cross this terrible, like
Right.
Nancy was saying earlier. And so it really shows where you need to do your work.
But you know what I want to say, we're really a small city, and I I really value the consultants. I think they've really helped us, and so I don't want to say anything bad about using consultants. I really appreciate it, and especially if we're doing actual street design, I know that's really necessary. But you just nailed it in like 1 second. You know, you're riding on this nice safe street, and I know 10-year-olds who won't cross San Pablo because on signalized crossings, and then that's why they couldn't ride half a mile to work on their own. I mean, to school on their own, which is so silly. You know, like. And I think some of those things are really easy to identify. I know there may be subtler things that are hard to pull out, but I don't think we're at the subtle point. I think we have big glaring things that we don't need consultants to tell us. We can identify them and start to, flag those things.
So is what you're proposing that we put this, like an LTS effort, or, a modified LTS effort, into the planning of the next update, but in the meantime, do we do traffic counts? Do we wait? What is?
I think, I don't have an opinion on traffic counts because I don't feel like I have a holistic sense of how many we're getting from development and whatever other regular efforts we do, but I do really, I guess, let me just make a motion. I want to move that we have, during the summer at some point, or during the warm months, it doesn't have to be the summer, 2 special weekend meetings of the BPAC, 1 walking and 1 biking. And we invite the community to walk and bike with us on designated routes, 2 different routes, to just hit, for an hour or 2 each, to hit some of the main difficult spots and talk to people about, what their challenges are. And maybe I don't know if Ken.
And then work from there.
And just take that as information that, we can bring, that will, I think, enrich our process as a BPAC going forward. We'll be out there talking about it as well, but also, and I don't know how we would record it. It would be really nice to have some way, I don't know, Ken can do a
Scorecard. Scorecard for everybody.
Yeah, there you go. Something that, so that we can sort of, it's not just in our head.
Did you enjoy your walk? Yes, no, that type of stuff.
How many times were you almost running over?
That's right.
Exactly.
Did you get hit by a car? Did you get side swipe? Did you have to flip anybody off?
Yes. How many times was your life in danger? Yes. It's just, that's my motion, is that we do, because we did that for maybe we do it every year, maybe we do it every other year. We did it as part of the planning process for the last bike head plan, and I unfortunately couldn't make it to either one of them, but I heard great things about them, and I think it's a valuable thing. And we did it with consultants, but I think we can do it ourselves, or we can do it with a scorecard that we pay a consultant to create for us.
We can make our own.
Yeah, we can make our own.
So your motion is that we schedule 2 special meetings sometime.
Sometime when it's not raining, theoretically.
That'll be June or something.
Yeah, or
Depending on El
it could be
Nino.
next September. I mean, it doesn't have to be right now, but sometime this year.
One being a bike ride and one being a walking tour. And then what else do people feel about measuring?
So usually the
traffic?
process is to get a
that
second
one
before you
needs a
start
second,
discussion.
or-
Okay.
Second.
Miguel?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion on this?
The scorecard that I think everyone's interested in learning about or making one of the things that Marcy sent over to me seems like it could work for that. It's the one that looks like this, bikeability checklist. And it has 7 questions, so it's pretty short. And they include things like how was the surface you rode on, what were the intersections you rode through, and then follow-up questions about how, if there were any problems or how you felt through those. I think this could be pretty useful, or we could mirror something that looks like this.
Who produced that one?
This was created by the U.S. Department of Transportation, National Highway Safety, Traffic Safety
They probably
Administration.
let us use it.
Was that in
Yeah,
that
it's
first set of
public
links?
domain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Public domain.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was
Or
It was like maybe the third or fourth link that she sent,
In the first email?
in the
I
first
gave you
email.
homework.
On the 14th, yes.
You didn't do all your homework, did you?
Because I was
You didn't
looking,
scroll all the way down.
I missed, I couldn't
downloaded a
find some of
bunch
the
of it
links
and read
that
through.
were.
Yeah, it's some
really-
pretty interesting stuff. I didn't have a chance to look through everything, but, you know, the other thing that you would have to tackle with this is where to get your people from and how to get them to get, you know, like who you're looking for. Who's your audience? You want to go to schools? You know, just things like that will be, you
Well, I
know,
think
part
it
of the
would,
process.
I don't remember how we announced it last time, but I think, you know, it would be if we could put it out to the BPAC list, which is a pretty big list, and also maybe put it in the city newsletter.
Yeah, we
and on
have
the
city
If
website.
it's
yeah.
being noticed as a special meeting,
Right,
then
right, so it would get
becomes that.
noticed,
Yeah.
but also.
But you might not, you know, you're not necessarily going to get a bunch of people to show up just because it's a BPAC meeting is all, you know.
Right, right.
And
So you
then,
wanna
yeah, you
just-
do a Saturday at 10 a.m. It might be pretty easy to ride around here, except down by Bay Street.
Yeah, so it wouldn't necessarily be reflective.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
That's true.
To get some perspective on this, are we putting these LTS things, that potential sort of study on the back burner?
I would recommend that, but I don't know if that's just me.
I mean, you did want to kind of know what people felt about
Yeah,
that,
because
right?
if we do want budget for either traffic counts or LTS with traffic counts, we've got to take that forward, you know, to try and get the money,
Has to
so.
be part of the budget.
Well, and I think traffic count, if we separate out the two, because the traffic counts was less expensive.
Mhm.
And I think the LTS sounds really valuable, but I just want us to do it when we're ready to actually.
To respond.
Yeah,
So
do
closer
something
to the
about
bike.
it. That would make sense to
Reading.
me.
Review.
When is the bike plan revision plan?
About 10 years or something?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be every 10 years.
10
Yeah.
years, so it's a long
I think
way
we're
out.
required to do it, but I think that means we start, if it was approved in 2012, that means we start in
Yeah.
2020,
Mhm.
which sounds like a long way from now, but it isn't really.
It
Yeah.
isn't really.
Because it takes a couple years to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
So maybe in 2019,
Yeah.
Yep.
we
That
do
would be
the
sort of
LTS,
starting.
and that helps inform our process.
So in terms of what to do in the summer, maybe that could be,
Yeah. We have a,
Member of the
Question,
public.
does the
Sure.
city own traffic count equipment?
No, only the traffic signs that are important now, we don't have the tubes.
It wasn't
or anything.
operable when I drove by at 20 miles
Northbound
an hour.
or southbound?
Southbound.
Were you going slowly?
Yes.
It doesn't record you. Let me tell you, on my bike, it doesn't record.
It doesn't record, I was going
Yeah.
about, I have this big idea of making that an 18-mile-an-hour street, right? And so I drove nice and slowly,
Well,
right?
it-
With all these cars coming towards me going north, right?
This morning I saw 19 miles an hour. It does, but it
It
doesn't
starts at
have-
15 or 16.
I wasn't going that slow.
Yeah. Well,
I was
I've
surprised.
gotten a report that the northbound one wasn't working at one point, so I'll go test them. I gotta wonder, maybe the solar isn't getting enough.
yeah.
Oh,
Today?
because of the rain.
Yeah, but the short days and the rain, I don't know. That's
Is it-
my working
You mean
hypothesis.
it's not telling you what your speed is, or
Right.
something?
Yeah,
It might still be
maybe-
recording it, maybe it's just not telling anybody.
I can download the data to
Okay.
see if it looks like the data are normal. That's actually something I should do soon.
So,
Question.
for this summer idea,
Or let me take the word
the
summer away.
non-rainy
Non-rainy
weather
season,
idea,
okay.
we have a first and a second, we
Yeah,
had discussion.
Another comment though, for a walking tour, we might need two tours, like one for north and one for south. I'm not sure we could do it all in one day.
Okay.
I mean, you could.
Or some transportation.
You could do one and then take the
Yeah.
shuttle down Hollis or.
Could we do, I mean, I wonder if,
So it's probably.
Scheduling 3 meetings might be a problem.
how do we do it, the walking tour? Did you go on that, Celeste, for
No.
the VPAC,
I wasn't
the
here.
bike plan? I'm thinking, could we potentially get an Emery go-round to take us, to walk for 45 minutes and then get an Emery go-round to take us to another?
Do you mean, would they do a special trip?
Yeah, or maybe we
I
could
don't know.
Plan
just,
around the schedule
right, we could just work it out that we
and,
hop on the Emery
with
go-round. at some
Celeste
point.
and the input of people who walk about
Right.
where the potential issue, where the areas are that need the most attention. Look at the routes of when we go around and figure it out. I think it's doable in a small city like this, that we could walk an area, find an merry-go-round, get to the other area that we want to go to, or areas.
I think that makes a lot of sense too, because when I use the Emeryville I'm walking, that's
Right.
Yeah.
using those two modes together.
And if we end up waiting for 45 minutes for the Emeryville, that could go on our list.
That's right.
So do you want to have that, well, first of all, you'd have to vote, but part of this conversation, do you want to have that on a whole meeting agenda? Do you want to have a subcommittee to sort of plot and plan, or?
I would love to have it on a meeting agenda. I don't know, we're all so busy, I don't know if the subcommittee is gonna actually happen.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think if we planned for maybe, we have a meeting in September, right?
Odd months, yes.
If we did it on a month that we didn't have a regular meeting,
Mhm.
so that it wouldn't overload us as much.
Yeah.
Could be October, that's usually a pretty nice weather month. Or it could be June.
This ITS, was it ITS?
LTS.
LTS, the Berkeley one?
Yeah, the
The
city
paper,
Berkeley's
the paper
doing-
that we were reading? It was just a partial analysis because it was just the 3 intersections, is that right? It's 3
Oh,
crossings?
you're talking about that is the IT.
ITS, Berkeley.
Oh, ITS, you're right.
Yeah.
That's the next, we're gonna talk
That's the
about
next
that.
item on
Oh, that's the next
Yeah.
item?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did you want to vote?
I think so. I think we want to vote because we have
Do we-
a motion and we have a second.
Do we want to include in the motion what month we want to do it? Do we
No,
want to?
just dry months.
Okay, I just worry that if we don't plan it. But
Okay,
but
so-
October should.
I just want to read this. So, to have 2 special weekend meetings of the BPAC, 1 bike, 1 ped, and go for a ride/walk to difficult spots. That's, I think, my words, but take that info to enrich our process going forward. Miguel seconded. So do you want to modify that? And do you want to, I don't know if you need to say when. I don't think that
Okay.
really
Doesn't have to be a weekend either, does it? Or does it?
I think we get more participation from the public
Okay.
if it's a weekend. And I agree that the traffic's calmer on those days, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Might be interesting to try and get one of them on like a school holiday that is also a weekday. And then maybe we get fewer of the working adults, but we might get more families and see what their input is. So that's just another idea,
So it could be like Columbus.
something like that.
Laura, I don't agree with you that Saturday there's less traffic, there's more traffic than Saturday.
Yeah, actually, I think
In
that is
certain places.
some places
Yeah.
that is definitely.
Not in my
true.
neighborhood.
Well, you don't, I think on the weekdays, there's very little traffic during the day, but at commute time, which is when a lot of us are riding, it's really bad. But the weekend is just kind of steady all day.
Okay, so shall we call the roll on that? All in favor? I guess we got a unanimous again. See, we're all marching lockstep. Anything else on measuring bicycle and pedestrian friendliness at key locations for inclusion in the work plan?
I just want to be clear, we're not moving anything forward for budgeting for counts or for this year.
Yeah, I thought we were all hot and bothered about getting that done last time.
I think counts are a separate issue. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I think the LTS, is that what it's called?
LTS.
I would like to see us do it a little later, but the counts,
Where would the
Not
counts
saying.
happen? On all the bike boulevards?
They would happen on all the bike boulevards, yeah.
And the last time those were done was
Well,
some
it
of them were like
varies.
3 or 4 years ago, right?
Some of them were, and some of them are more frequent, more recent, like if there was an EIR, like Sherwin. So some of those areas have been done very recently.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we do traffic counts on anything that has not been done in the last 3 years, any of these
Any boulevards?
particular ones, yeah. It's not been done in the last 3 years, because I think our traffic changes quite a bit, and I think our cycling traffic changes quite a bit.
And so you want to count vehicles and bicycles and pedestrians, or what do you want to count?
Thought we were doing vehicle counts, right?
Yeah. Well, you
Because
just
we
mentioned
wanna-
bicycles, so I thought I'd make sure we were clear.
How long do you want for the count for you to which location?
Say this again?
How long do you want the test to be? Like, each location, a week, 2 days?
Well, they do an average, they figure out what it is per day.
Yeah,
And they do it like 3 or 4 different times or something.
yeah,
right?
there's sort of
Three
known
times.
methodology for that, people use it to get an average. I don't know what the known methodology is, but.
So we have a motion.
Miguel seconded.
Miguel second, thank you.
He seconds that emotion.
Shall we call the roll on that one too? All in favor?
I,
And I just wanted, so that would be something that you would ask for funding for in the,
In the upcoming process, yeah.
Right.
So,
So that would be probably less than 10,000?
probably.
Probably
If we're-
less than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
He's spitting money in his head
Yeah.
there. Right, because they figured it was 10,000 every year to do.
That was, yeah, that was Maurice's sort of back of the envelope
Yeah, he
idea.
figured 20,000 every 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
So
don't
it
have
should
to
be
do
less
it
than
every year. That seems
Right.
like overkill.
Right.
Unless,
Right.
unless there's a new development, in which case we're already getting it, so,
Yeah, because you make them pay for it.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this item? Shall we move on to our Greenway Crossing study?
That's me too. I didn't bring this, we're gonna put it up, or only if things come up. This was sent out, we didn't bring copies because it's 75 pages.
Well, there are some, no,
Yeah, this one.
yeah, there are some copies, and also by, people that didn't get copies said that they got it electronically.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I found that
Is there a
pages
copy for Scott?
33 through 39 were the only ones that really mattered to me.
Decided too much.
I can pull mine up.
I mean, there were 20-some pages of glossary. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what this
Somebody's
was,
getting a master's off this, right?
yeah, well, I think
I
that
have
they copied
it's a
something, they got a
double
master's
page one,
off.
if you wanna look at this. It's the,
Somebody's plagiarizing a master's.
Yeah, their
it's the
own
whole- I didn't
probably.
give it out because it's so small. Here you go.
So what happened was, last year we applied for these Institute of Transportation Studies at UC Berkeley, has grants in a couple categories, pedestrian, bike, and rural. The rural is the one we qualify for because it's 25,000 or less population. So, what I was new when this came up, Maurice suggested these crossings. It's in the bike plan as a project to study these crossings. So that's what we applied for and we got. So the study was done by Kittleson for Berkeley and then given to us by Berkeley. But Kittleson came here, rode the route with us for the Greenway, and also, and gave recommendations for those crossings. They also, as sort of part of the program, did an overall analysis of like a benchmarking of our bike ped plans or programs to see what's a strength, what enhancements we could add, and what opportunities we have to improve. And most of these things mirror what we already know, what's already in the plan. There's nothing here that's really that shocking, but it's an interesting sort of third-party look at where we stand in our program. It's in typical, the executive summary, the executive summary is all wordy. If you go to section 3, benchmarking analysis, results, and suggestions, all the same things are covered in a table form, which is nicer, I think, easier to read. It's the same information.
Is that on page 22?
This is page 7 of the November dated report. So that's the first half of this study, and it's not something I am prepared to really go
25th
through.
page. Page 7.
Page
Right.
7, but yeah, on the page it says page 7, I don't know
Yeah,
what
it's
number
like
it
the
is on the
25th or
yeah.
26th page.
Uh-huh. That's shocking. So then, in addition to that whole effort, they then, at section 4, 33 on the paper, it's bicycling audit results and suggestions. And so what we did was we looked at the crossings for the Greenway at 65th, 66th, and 67th. And came up with, the issues that are challenges on each of those crossings and recommendations of things we could do. Now we noticed today that those recommendations are exactly the recommendations we already have in our bike ped plan, so, which are, we should consider, these are all things we could consider. Consider signage for the bicyclists and pedestrians. Pedestrians, it's less of an issue because they're not moving as fast, but for the bicyclists.
And they have the right of way.
And they have the right of way automatically. To say, signs for them that say cross traffic does not stop. Maybe active flashing sensors for bikes and pedestrians as they come through to light up like they do on the Ohlone Greenway. For the cars, the suggestions include signage that says, now it says yield to pedestrians. It would say yield to pedestrians and bicycles. It would be like a trail crossing. Yeah, just one sec.
Okay. Got it.
Let me confuse them first. Another possibility is raised crosswalks in those areas, in conjunction with one or more of the other, things. We could use anything from that menu. There was an interesting wrinkle, which they ended up. That's the text. They ended up also giving us these site diagrams, which Marcy has for the.
So both versions?
There are two versions. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
They gave us.
So one version is gonna go one direction, the other version is gonna go the other.
So take one of them.
One of each.
Yeah. And they're packets, so take one packet of each. So these, I'm sorry, I should have gone this way. Here are the rest of them. So the packet that's going counterclockwise includes stop signs for the bicyclists on the Greenway. That's not mentioned in the text. There's, there are pros and cons for doing that. And it is, they took it out of the final report, but we thought we would share it with you because it is an option that we could use.
I have to say that I've noticed that a lot of other, especially in Berkeley, a lot of other byways do have stop signs for bicycles. The Ohlone Greenway.
Oh, yes.
So is there an extra one, excuse me,
Here,
Ken?
I have that.
I needed another one.
There's the other one.
Great thinking.
Sorry.
We hope.
There's a mix. The El Cerrito Ohlone Greenway seems to have a stop sign for the bikes at every crossing. Berkeley, just above University, there are 3 streets like Virginia, Delaware, Berkeley Way maybe, or Hearst, and they each have a different treatment. So it's really up. It's really not. There's not a one way to do it. We can do it. We can try different things.
Well, except that the El Cerrito section was just redone, right? Of the park that they just did this whole nice upgrade on.
They did a pretty nice job there.
Yeah, the Ohlone Green.
They put in flashing
Except for those
lights.
couple of parking lots.
Well, I'm just wondering if the stop sign at every intersection is the more updated treatment, like
Right.
those place where it's 3 different ones, maybe
Well,
older.
it's legally what the cyclists are supposed to be doing.
Right, right.
I don't think it's that it's updated so much. I think it's just that Berkeley had different conditions at all 3 crossings, and so they wanted to do each one
Which-
slightly differently, yeah.
Their philosophy was wherever there's heavier traffic, they get the right of way. So Berkeley Way, say, or whichever little ones, it was the bicycles were heavier than the vehicles, and they don't have to stop, and the vehicles have a yield, I think. Then at another one like Virginia, say, there's more vehicle traffic, so they have priority. So that's the
Talking
tack.
about that old Santa Fe right away?
Yeah, just above the few blocks
Really?
above the
In
university.
Virginia, probably fewer cars than you think, though.
Well, yeah, they did a study. I may be misstating which ones
Virginia's
are
a bike
which.
boulevard, and I think that's where they have the
First
flashes.
has definitely got a
yeah.
lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Delaware's got a lot of traffic.
Yeah,
The-
these are.
Point being that, you can use different treatments, and
Use
it
different
doesn't have to all be equal.
Right.
The other thing to say is that as part of the Marchand Building development up at the top there, Folger, between Folger and 67th on the Greenway, Berkeley's street is Folger. They're putting in flashing sensors up there. So I think it'll be
On Folger?
on Folger for the Greenway.
Folger's the one where it takes a turn,
So
right?
that,
I'm pretty sure it is Folger.
oh, it is?
Yeah, where you have to, where it jogs, because I heard that they're
It's the
gonna.
one, isn't it the one with the fire station? Like the fire
Yeah,
station.
isn't that
Fire
Murray?
station's on
Oh,
Fulton.
maybe it's
Yeah.
Murray, okay.
Murray
okay.
with the jog and Folger's the one
Folger's the
below.
next one, okay, okay.
Right, is that true?
That's right.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so it'd be interesting to see how that, you know, we may want to see how that works. We may want to be consistent. We
Right.
may say, that doesn't work, you know, that's terrible, and we don't want to do that. I mean, I think it's kind of a little laboratory. We can see how that goes before we commit to one way or another here.
We're certainly getting a lot of traffic, a lot of cycling and pedestrians.
A
Yeah,
lot,
tons.
yeah, a lot.
Berkeley Bowl West is really,
It's really good. And when that Marchand building gets occupied, there will be more vehicle traffic
Yeah,
on
right now,
those.
there's not very many vehicles there.
Right.
You know.
I will say that the signs that Emeryville installed, the little radius signs, have been helpful, and I do find that cars are often yielding to me on the bike. I never
Yeah.
assume they're going to, but they are slowing down as they approach that intersection.
Yeah.
So I think the treatments we have now are good, and I like these ideas. And I also like the idea of being consistent with Berkeley, that if they're going for the lights, that maybe, you know,
but you still
we
don't
can
have
do
the
it.
right of way.
Right.
Even if there's a flashing yellow
It's trail crossing,
sign,
right?
unless it says
Trail crossing, you
yield
can have the right of way.
for the cars,
Well, that's
She
what
does not
I
have
think
the right of
one of
way.
the proposals would be,
On a
because it
bicycle.
says yield to pedestrians now, and one
Okay.
of their
well
proposals.
then, yeah, you just change
is
it
to put in
to
a sign
a
that says
yield
yield to
sign.
bike.
So you yield to
Yeah.
everything.
You gotta,
Strollers, dogs, bikes,
Yeah,
pedestrians.
and I had a question about that too, as it related to right-of-way. When I saw Berkeley was building their trails with no signage in either direction, I asked the Berkeley engineer or planner, Eric Anderson, what his take was on that. And he said that the bikeway and the street were both equal travel ways. And so the intersection of the bikeway and the street would be considered the same as any other unsigned intersection, in that the user
It's an
who
unsigned,
arrives,
yeah, but it's like,
who arrives at the intersection first.
right,
is the
and you're
right
not
of way.
allowed to go through faster than about 10 or 15 miles an hour. That's, I think, the state law on that.
Okay.
on an uncontrolled intersection.
Because like Berkeley, Richmond Annex is full of unsigned
Yes,
intersections.
or just corners,
It's like,
yeah.
no, there's like, yeah,
There's
But I'm
also,
not sure that's a real practical approach to making the intersection safer.
Safer.
Yeah.
no, because all you gotta do is get one person killed
Yeah.
and,
there's some, and I was hoping you might know, but there's reference in both our ped bike land, and certainly in this thing, that say, clarifying the intent of giving priority to pedestrians and bicyclists using the trail. So they differentiate a trail from another kind of intersection, and the trail has priority for the people on the trail, whatever mode they're using.
oh, okay.
So I don't
Even
know
at
what
the
the legalities.
crossings? At the crossings as well?
At the crossing. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
Can I just say, as a user of that path, I mean, peds always have the right of way when they're crossing, and they're moving pretty slowly and they're pretty maneuverable, but as a bicyclist, that trail is much more a much more efficient transit corridor if I have the right of way at the intersections. If I have to stop every block, it's a very inefficient. It's still lovely, it's nice to be off the street, but it's very inefficient for me as a bicyclist. I lose a lot of momentum. So if we could upgrade it so that bicycles do have priority, I think that would be great.
well, I've been dreaming about something to do on these three intersections for a couple of years, and I've talked with some people there in the condos at 65th. What I think should happen to 65th is a four-way stop sign. At 65th, everybody stops. Because if you try to ride through on a bike, especially with a lot of parked cars on that angle parking, it really sucks.
Angle parking's gone.
the angle
The angle
parking
parking is gone right now?
by the Oliver Building.
Wow.
Newsflash,
To go to
newsflash.
council this month.
Yeah, it's
Oh, okay.
currently out, and it's going to council this week with the
Interesting.
request that it stay out.
Interesting.
For the bike.
And
It
are
would
the
be-
Oliver people
It would
gonna
be
show up?
changed to parallel
It's
parking?
parallel now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then at 66th Street, I'd like that not to be a through street and be a cul-de-sac of sorts. Up at the condos probably, just above it. So you can't drive down between San Pablo, because, you know, the biggest problem is, I'll be riding through there on a weekend, And you got some guy coming down 67th or 66th, and they're going 45 miles an hour.
Right.
You can get a real heavy steam going.
Right, and there's nobody to stop them, so they just blow through there.
Mhm.
And while I've been in, doing pedestrian across the
Right.
crosswalk, they do that. I'd like to see 66, I'd like to see three different things here. I'd like to see 66th, not a through street.
Where would it be,
And I know that-
where would it be closed?
Above,
So east of the Greenway?
yeah, because you got Vallejo Street
Where's
tees out
Oakland?
there.
Isn't that Oakland right there, like right at the border?
That's real close, yeah. I
Oakland
also
is part of
want-
Oakland's a little east of the.
Also want a commemorative monument at the corner of the three cities, because I know there's a corner there, that right off the trail, it's, all three cities meet right there, right near the Martian building, right?
In the
That doesn't
building
count.
or-
I think
And-
it's actually in one of those buildings. I think there's a- I
That's
decided
what I
about it.
remember.
No, it's not in the
I
building.
think
not?
it's between the building and the Greenway.
Yeah,
Okay.
between the building and the
Oh, okay.
Greenway.
Where is
The
it?
grid, the building's on the lot.
And so they've got all that fence stuff is actually in the city, part of that's in the city of
Yes.
Emeryville. So they're
Yeah, part of that block of Greenway
encroaching
is
on
us.
our city.
But they're gonna beautify it.
Let's hope so, because
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of
maintain
beat up.
it.
Well, they took the potted plants that some people put on the Greenway and they removed those.
Yeah.
Aw.
Some people would put some potted plants next to the benches there. And I think that 67th Street would be a great place for a big yield sign. Yield to the trail. I mean,
I
just
think-
my thought.
Well, I think we should treat all three, whatever we do, all three intersections should be the same, because it just to reduce confusion.
Yeah, but you're gonna get nailed at 65th Street. They're not gonna yield. They need a stop sign to
I would disagree with you, because when I ride that, I'm always, I don't take it for granted, and
Get
there are
some.
some people who power through, but I would say more than half right now, with just the treatment we have right now, are yielding. I think because of the volume of bike and ped traffic,
Yeah.
people who drive there regularly know that they're likely to have someone they can't see at that moment.
Okay, so what
coming out.
happens with the guy that's coming up 65th Street? Then he waves at you and you start riding out, but you got the person coming down 65th Street and they ignore you. It's kind of like what I see a lot on Sacramento Street in Berkeley, where the cyclists start
Right,
going
right.
across the street and you got 2 lanes of traffic each way. And the one person stops and the other person's going 40 and they just
Right.
blow through.
Right. Well,
Which
but
I think is,
don't think, when
life and limb.
No, I think that is a very dangerous thing. I think this is a little different. I don't feel the same way as I do when I'm crossing Sacramento Street on this crossing at Progress.
I'd love to see one of these 2 streets not go through.
To reduce traffic, so Robert has his.
So I did try to, I parsed the document. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. My perspective is that people are kind of going to do what they're going to do regardless of what kind of signage we put up. So I really like the treatments that slow traffic at the intersection, both in terms of the raised crosswalks, but I'd even like to see something on the bikeway as well, maybe just with, a couple of rows of pavers or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but when I use the Greenway, one of my big concerns is not even necessarily looking for car traffic, but also looking for pedestrian traffic
On the sidewalks.
along the sidewalks too, because every time you
Oh,
do a
yeah.
crossing, you look both ways for pedestrians, you look both ways for cars, then you look both ways for pedestrians again before you go all the way across.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's
That's gonna
hampered.
take you a while.
Yeah, and this is mentioned a little bit in the document too, but a lot of that is hampered by sightline issues.
Yes.
And I feel like opening up those sightlines, not just between the street and the bike and the path, but also the path and the sidewalk, would really help people to be able to navigate those intersections more safely with some speed controls.
What's blocking the sidewalk? Is it trees?
Could be straws.
The view?
Trees and I mean the bulb outs help with the parked cars, but in some locations the parked cars are pretty close as well. And then the plantings when they get grown up.
We get behind.
Sometimes.
Yeah, especially for people with a kid, like on one of those little
Yeah.
stroller
Oh, yeah,
bikes or whatever those things
Yeah.
are. Because that seems to be a big learner area right
Yeah.
now.
I mean, if a jogger is
Great.
coming from one direction, there's just no way you're going to be able to see them in time, even if you're going super slow.
Yeah, or a dog on a leash sometimes,
Yeah.
you don't see the leash,
Right.
Right.
I have a question about it. I haven't ridden it very much in the last year. I've noticed that there's some maintenance issues with the slabs sort of raising up and they're being cut down.
Mm-hmm.
But with heavier traffic for both bicyclists and pedestrians, has there been any noticeable friction between pedestrians and bicyclists? Or is it,
Mm-mm.
since
I don't
civility
notice
is still reigning?
seems to be pretty good. I mean, you got little kids, you got dogs, you got strollers, you got cyclists. I don't think I see cyclists going too fast.
Did you see those new stencils that were put down that says share, goes round and share the path?
Those are nice.
That's nice, yeah, it sort of sets the tone, I think.
Where-
It's a
where
very
did you
heavily
source
used
those?
path by everybody.
I don't
I
know.
mean, my pet peeve as a cyclist is that pedestrians almost never go on the part that was designated for them, and I think it's
Yeah.
because,
Can
it's,
be a little muddy.
well, that, but even when it's not muddy, and I think it's because of the plantings, because you can't sort of move back and forth,
There's not
and
space.
people like to take
Mhm.
up the entire path. So I'm constantly, politely dinging my bell to tell people, no, don't let your dog leash all the way
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the path, because other people might be wanting to come.
That's
But
true.
it's not a huge problem.
So the plantings, the ones that are between the walking path and the biking
Yeah.
path, yeah, that would be a problem.
I mean,
That would
what-
keep people off it.
When I was off my bike last summer, I walked it, and the DG is a much nicer surface for
It's a
walking.
real
I
nice
actually
for walking, yeah.
really liked it, and I think if people tried it, they might like it, but I think it doesn't, when the plantings get high, I think it doesn't feel safe.
It's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah,
all
yeah,
along the
I agree.
Greenway, the
That-
Ohlone Greenway. I mean, people are, some people use that DG, some people
Right.
don't.
But at least they can move off more easily if there isn't the planting in
Oh, I
between.
see.
Like on the Berkeley section of
Yeah.
our greenway, there, it just is continuous, and there's no planting, or there's stuff on the
Yeah.
other side. So I think it's nice, then people, if there is a lot of traffic, pedestrians can more easily sort of move
Yeah,
back
I
and
see what
forth.
you're saying.
Yeah, well, you're almost at the level of being a professional cyclist. So, I mean, because you're riding everywhere. And it reminds me of, I was back in Ohio, I was a teenager, and they put this beautiful bike path, kind of parallel to the road through this really long park. It's 8 or 10 miles ride. We're fording the rivers, all this type of stuff. And we thought we were tough, because everybody had their tricycles and their starters and their, training wheels and stuff on it. We thought we were tough, and we were a lot younger. And so we just rode the road. Is what ended up happening. And there's still a certain amount of, like out in Marin where there's a really good bike path through Samuel Taylor Park. I see cyclists on the road now a lot.
Mhm.
they
Must
don't
be
wanna
because
deal
there's a
with
bunch of
pedestrians.
debris on the road,
Yeah.
on the path or something
Yeah.
like that. But, there's a certain level at which, like, you might even be comfortable on Hollis Street, though. Hollis isn't that bad. San Pablo sucks.
I would much rather ride the path.
Yeah.
I've
I know,
ride
you
all
just
the time, but I
basically
like
have to
ride
ride a
the
little
comfortable
slower.
way. You do, and that's fine with me.
I
think
find my
that's-
3-speed is perfect for that.
Yeah, no, it's
So
good
what
to
do
go
you
slow.
do?
So, on that path.
Ken, did you say, you wanted to say something here? Yeah, I thought I saw your hand up. No, you were just changing it.
So where did you want to block 66th Street?
I thought that up in between the bike trail
The next block?
and Vallejo Street, yeah.
Right at the border of,
Yeah, well, put a border,
Oh,
put a
with
border.
Emeryville
Yeah,
border.
we could do our own little
Emeryville.
Schengen border.
do
Border
a
thing,
controlled border crossing.
Yeah, border patrol. We already have a border patrol, right? The cops driving down Vallejo Street.
Wait, this is really
That's not on
66th
the
Street, isn't it?
It is, that's wrong. Because it said, if you look at the thing at the top, it says 66.
Or maybe it does make sense to have it all be
right, I
yield
think
to
I noticed
trail,
that,
if we
yeah.
can get that.
Isn't that Google writing that, or is that someone else?
Laura, do you think that, having yields all the way through
I think yields could
for,
work.
for
'cause yields-
autos, they won't yield?
What if we put yields for, instead of
Because if you
stop
put a
signs
yield sign for
bikes?
everybody on, if you put yields for all the vehicles and the cyclists just go through there willy-nilly, they're still gonna get hurt.
Well, what if we put, instead of putting four-way stops, what if we put four-way, I don't know, like, what if we put yields?
See, I honestly thought that at 65th, and this was mentioned to me by one of the treasurers of one of those condo complexes there, I was playing bocce, and we talked, and he thought that it would make a lot of sense to have a four-way stop there, especially at 65th, because that's the worst
That's the
one.
big traffic
That's the
one.
one that has trucks, that's the one that, has those people trying to make it up to that light at 65th and San Pablo.
Then you'd have cars stopping in the middle of the night when there's no
Right.
Fine.
bike traffic.
But
Fine.
Not
I
if you're
think,
sleeping next door.
Well, it causes more pollution too every time we stop.
well, what about the lights that Berkeley's installing, because that would be stop if someone's in the intersection, but not.
How do you,
central
I mean,
one.
so how does the cyclist spring that?
It's
It's
a
a-
sensor.
Automated,
How far before?
like.
Like if you're going 15 miles an hour on a
Yeah.
bicycle, what happens?
I think
It's
you
there.
could
Okay,
put
but you
it-
shouldn't go
Yeah,
15
there you go,
there.
maybe 10,
Yeah.
but not 15.
It's calibrated for the bicycle speed, so it's for far enough
Oh,
back.
I've seen those in Boulder.
I really
they
appreciate
work?
it on a
Yeah.
loading. I think
Yeah.
that, like, it makes sense on the blocks that they're on.
Um,
And for 65th, I think that the flashing lights would be a perfect spot for that.
You know, I was surprised to learn from Mike today that I had thought that the raised crosswalk would be a cheaper option than the flashing lights. Apparently, it's the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, these are not in pavement flashing lights, just the ones that are on the signs.
The
of-
pavement, the
yeah.
beacons.
Which, the
Yeah,
ones in
the
the
pavement ones
pavement,
are better,
there's
yeah.
there's controversy about the in-pavement ones because during the day, they're not as visible. And where something that's like at eye level or, above is gonna be
Is
more
more
visible.
And there would be a sign in that, stop when flashing.
Yeah,
Something like that,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, is that what Berkeley's gonna put in?
You know what? I
They've got
think
some of
so.
that in now, don't they?
Hmm?
Doesn't Berkeley have some of that in?
Yeah, but at
Oh, it's
Folger.
at Folger.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm
Do you
meeting
know?
with, not Eric, but some of the other people at Berkeley on Wednesday, so I'll get the.
Good Saturday.
Yeah, because
lowdown.
I would be interested to see which they're doing. and
So
maybe-
I
pedestrians
believe what they're
would get that
doing
as
is
well,
a
or would you
sign
have to push
that
a-
Do it by
warns
push.
vehicles
Or you
that
would
there's
trigger it walking
bike or
by,
ped
Do it.
in
but
the
you might,
crosswalk.
depending on your
Like
It's a
speed, you
warning.
might not have enough
Yeah.
time to get
And it flashes
across.
only if there's.
I don't know
somebody
how
that's
that
not,
works,
like,
we'd have to
triggered
look
it.
at
Yes,
that,
yeah.
to see
But
whether they
not
would
in
also
pavement,
want
a race.
another
Right.
sensor or a push or whatever to make sure pedestrians can get across.
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
anybody have a thing,
You've got a,
An
I've got a
objection to
handout
the
back
signs?
here.
Yes.
Would raised crossings be kind of like our speed table and acceptable to our Alameda County Fire
Yeah.
Department?
Yeah, if it had, you'd have to have the right width, but yes,
Yeah,
they are
especially those
acceptable.
nice big ones that are like, what, 20 feet across or 16 feet across?
Yeah, or,
And so all of that is totally acceptable?
yeah, I mean, it has to be designed to be, but
Yes.
it's normal that it is,
Okay.
yeah. So we're not actually getting an action, an action on this, it was a report on the report.
It's an action item. I'm looking at my,
Well, they
It's
recommended,
listed as an action.
one of the things
they
that
recommended
seems-
some stuff, yeah.
One of the things that seems like low-hanging fruit here to me is the parallel parking versus
Mhm.
versus
Diagonal.
diagonal parking. And especially, so which street did you say it's going away?
65th on the, if you're going north on the path, it's on the, no matter
It's
what
on the east
direction,
side of the path.
southeast.
This picture.
It's gone now.
It's gone now.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
that's sightline improvement there. That was something we absolutely noticed when we were on the ride with the planners, was sightlines. And it's not just the normal parking, it's now then there's a truck parked outside of it, doing
Right.
maintenance or making a
Right.
delivery or whatever.
Right. Well, and also, I will say that will make the bike lane on 65th much safer too.
Yeah, and that was part of the reasoning for that too.
Yeah. So it looks like there's just
Well, there's no bike lane at the angled parking, so they could pull one.
There
Was
isn't
it-
enough width.
Oh, because.
Oh, really?
because
Even
of
with the
angle.
parallel parking?
Just the street is narrower there
Okay.
than it is
No,
to
there's
the
a bike,
west.
there's a bike lane northbound on 65th there, or westbound, excuse me.
So,
This is
east
eastbound.
of the Greenway, there's no bike.
Eastbound.
Further
anywhere
west
east
there
of it.
is. Further west there
Yeah,
is. you said.
west, there's
Where's it
bike lanes in
start?
each direction, starts at the
Uh-huh.
Greenway.
It starts at the
Really?
Greenway.
Starts and ends, yeah.
Yeah.
So
What's the
each-
idea of that? You're supposed to use the greenway? Or just-
No, it becomes a shared,
The share, because
Yeah.
there is a bike lane, no, I think there is a bike lane there, I don't think that's
no, we
correct.
just installed sharrows there.
Because there's a bike lane on 65th east of Hollis.
Correct.
East of Hollis.
So you're saying there's a gap
But not-
between the bikeway and Hollis?
I'm saying there's a
No.
gap between the Greenway
The Greenway and Hollis.
and everything east.
East to Oakland.
It starts at the Greenway.
Oh, east, you know what, I'm sorry, I got my east and west reversed.
It's
This
true,
is
though.
what happens when you grow up
Some of
on
it is, some
the
of
east
it's-
coast. Okay, I see what you're saying, okay. But there is a bike lane next to where this perpendicular parking was, so that's a bonus that it's going away. The diagonal parking, excuse me. So it's a bonus that it's going away for the bikes.
So are we proposing an action or not?
Yeah, so it's in the action items just in case. Doesn't mean you have to take action, so
Well.
just saying.
Well,
I think what my recommendation as staff is that we wait to see what happens at Folger, so that we don't go off ready to do something, and then Folger either works or doesn't work, and we do or don't want to do what
So
they
they're
did.
putting in flashing lights?
Yes, and they're making Marchand do it as part of the development, so it should be soon. I don't know what the timing is, but I'm meeting with them on Wednesday, so I should get more
Yeah,
details.
but Folger has hardly any traffic.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a lousy road surface for cars, so they.
Yeah, but they're
they
gonna
go-
be repaving it, and they're gonna be putting people
I
on
think
it.
they did repave
They
it.
did repair it.
Oh, they did?
They did repave it, but also it's gonna be more use.
Yeah, part of it's repaved, that's right.
The Folger building is gonna be, what's it gonna be developed into? Do we know? It's gonna be a lot more use, so there's gonna be more traffic.
Oh,
for sure.
somebody's moving, they announced that somebody's moving into that, I can't
Some
remember.
chocolatier and.
Cho.
Yes, it
Is
is.
it Cho?
Cho.
Oh, Choa, oh,
Yeah.
Cho, yeah.
Cho is already in a building
TCHO
over
or
there.
something, yeah, but and they're not taking the whole building.
Yeah,
That's a pretty darn big building.
that's a big one.
Were they the ones that were over in the Heinz building? Talk about digression.
No.
That was
Yeah.
Scharfenberger.
No, that was.
Yeah, that was
never
Scharfenberger.
mind.
Different
They've been
I have a
gone.
quick,
So-
quick request too, with your meeting with Berkeley, I know they received their ATP grant to continue the
Mhm.
pathway basically off-street all the way past Berkeleyville West.
Mhm.
And that will connect to the existing path that ends at Heinz.
Yeah.
And you can ask if they're planning for any additional treatments at that Heinz intersection as well.
Oh, yeah, I will. You know, Bike East Bay is gonna be at the meeting that I'm going to with
Okay,
them
I'll tell her.
about bike share.
Yes.
So but we can cover these other little items.
It's gonna be a really complicated light at Ashby, isn't it?
It's gonna be one box.
A big box?
Yeah,
Long intersection.
yeah. So you'll
Ah.
stop, it won't be two lights. It's
Oh,
one.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they are gonna go ahead and do that railroad
Well,
right
they
away
own it.
straight through. Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And they got a
were-
grant for it.
Yeah, they were gonna do it and then they ran out of money initially.
Right, they did what they figured that they wanna put what they could through, and when they had more,
I think it's on a pretty short time frame.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like,
So
Yeah.
are we gonna do a motion here, or are we gonna, I mean, what do you feel about yields to yield to trail?
I like the idea of upgrading the signs to put bikes and pets on them, not just,
So
and not that.
it's, so it means yield,
Yeah.
not just yield to pets.
Yield
I
to
think
anybody in
what's
the crosswalk.
shown means caution, there are bikes and peds crossing.
Trail crossing, yeah. Right now, it says stop for pedestrians, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Sign.
it's a state law, stop for pedestrians, right?
And I don't think there's a state law about stopping for bicycles.
Right.
No,
But-
because bicyclists don't have a right of way in the crosswalk.
But the sign could be added, is what that's.
Sign could, yeah, the word state law could be taken off so that we could have had bikes.
Honestly, I don't know if we're safer with the sign as it is now, because that's a pretty recognizable sign that, you know, it's in a lot of locations, and it means yield to pets, and I think a lot of cars think it means yield to bikes, and I like that. So-
Yeah.
But what about the car that doesn't want to yield the bike, and he doesn't have to yield to the bike? And then you've got somebody who's dead,
Well, that's why
and the
bicyclists
car
need to
is
be
not
careful.
responsible for what.
So you,
Well,
are
the
you
car is
proposing with
I'm
the yield-
I'm proposing
yield-
at least yield to
It is
trail.
yield.
Yeah.
Straight yield
You know,
signs,
the
straight
car-
through,
if you-
all three intersections.
Even if you hit a jaywalker, or you're always responsible.
Yeah.
Even if they did something they really shouldn't do.
That's what I was told when I took driving lessons, is you're not allowed to hit pedestrians. I was very firmly told this. I remember my driving instructor saying that. That is never okay.
Well, I took mine in Ohio and it was okay.
Yeah, Connecticut.
I
they
got
frown
drove off the road so many times on a bicycle.
In New York, you're allowed, but only if they've been a jerk to you.
Yeah.
And
Only from Jersey.
do we have time to make a recommendation before something happens here? Or is there, like, between our next meeting and?
I think, well, nothing's gonna happen here that fast anyway. So I think, yes, it should come back here when we're working out really what we're gonna do. But that's not now.
I'd like to make a motion that we request yield signs at 65th, 66th, and 67th Street Greenway crossings. And that if
You mean yield to
appropriate,
bikes and pets.
Yeah, I don't know.
yield.
What do you mean by
Simple
signs?
yield
Yield to
signs.
the trail traffic.
Two-way,
No.
four-way?
You mean those
Right,
triangular yield signs?
Yeah, a yield sign. For 65th?
And those are
66th,
not, those are not there
67th?
now?
No.
Of course not. They say
Okay.
yield to peds.
Okay.
And that if appropriate, I'll add this to my motion, if appropriate, we use blinking lights or anything, any other treatment that we can enhance safety with.
Do you want to leave the pedestrian sign? If you put up that yield sign, would that be in addition to
You
that
already have to
pedestrian?
yield to pedestrians.
Do you want to leave it there?
Yield. Why put extra signs up?
Okay, the one that's
Then
all,
you're gonna screw up sight lines.
the one that's in this,
I-
the one that's on the crosswalk now.
Okay.
Do you want to remove that when you put up the yield sign? I'm just asking, do you want both or one?
Well, I feel that a simple yield sign is the best.
I think it should have the flashing lights.
Well, you're flashing lights
Because
if
that means
appropriate,
really,
right?
means like
Okay.
yield, this means you, yield to anything walking by
Yeah.
or biking by.
Dog wandering through,
What,
So-
and yield to the dog, I mean.
raccoons.
So your motion is to request yield signs at each crossing and appropriate use blinking lights?
Where appropriate, use blinking lights.
Where appropriate, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Can I ask
she
a
thinks it's
question?
appropriate.
I think it's
at
appropriate.
8:06.
Well, we need a second before we can discuss.
I want to ask, oh, okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, so who are you asking for that from?
We are an advisory committee, and I guess we directly report to the city council.
So you're asking city council for those things?
Yeah, and Public Works, right? They tell Public Works to do it if they decide to go for it. Yeah, we have a spy from city council here right now.
I'm just clarifying.
So I'm actually, since this changed, the function of this, or the structure of this changed, I'm not sure what happens. Do we take your motion directly in a staff report to council, or do
I'm not the
we?
city manager or attorney, I don't know.
I mean, it seems like it's a recommendation
Right.
to staff?
It might be that Maurice makes a report, or, whatever staff is there making reports, that staff's committees, that they make a report, or
I think
unless
I
it's,
think it goes directly from the committee to the council, but staff can say yes, yay or nay.
well, the question
or
is, who
comment
makes,
on it.
in what form is it a report to council? Is it through the city manager's report, or through,
The report out to the
because
committee?
I don't show up there and say, hey, this is what the BPAC said, somebody,
Before we were advisory, I heard our comments come in on things that were before the city council as here's what the BPAC thinks is part of the staff report. But if this wasn't something
Yeah, it
that
used
was
to come through the
otherwise
traffic committee.
coming, right, but if this wasn't something that was otherwise coming to council, that's a whole other question. Like,
so
can
who
we
does the staff
directly-
report? Does Maurice maybe, is what
Well, I
I'm
mean,
thinking.
you or I would do it if that's the
Yeah.
appropriate. It just seems to me to be a little cart before the horse, because, the committee has recommendations, but there's more to the picture always, about what. So, sort of take things that you don't have full information, we don't yet necessarily even have full information, and just sort of jump it right to
Just seems
council.
like the city manager would decide whether it would be on the agenda or not.
And is it, as Marcy is sort of getting at, there's a point where the department heads report on the committees and what has happened in the committees since the last, city council?
Yes, yeah.
That also seems like a possible place where it's less formal, and then maybe council could direct, I'd like to hear more about
And they could choose to
that.
agendize it, or the
Yeah.
city manager could agendize it.
So that seems like, seems to me like a good way to do it. You bring it in as a report, and then city council elevates, or the city manager elevates it, or not, it's just a report at that point. Sound,
That sounds good.
Does that sound good to
Is that-
anybody?
Does that mean that Maurice is gonna think about it? Is that what we're saying?
No, what we're saying is.
And get 20 calls from Brian?
Yeah. Maurice gives a report, or Charlie, or whoever, at the council meeting saying, the BPAC met, and, these are the items covered, blah, 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 blah. He could say, the BPAC met and put forward a motion that we put yield signs at 65th, 66th, 67th at the Great Atlantic crossings, and consider flashing lights as appropriate. And then council could take that opportunity to say, Scott could say, I'm very interested in that, I'd like staff to follow up on that, or not follow it up, or ask Maurice, what do you plan to do about that? And Maurice could say, well, we're waiting to see what Berkeley does, and then we're gonna take it up at that point. It just, that seems like an appropriate and less formal way to bring ideas and suggestions to council's ears without sort of locking everyone into something before we have all the information.
I agree. That seems good.
Yeah.
From a practical viewpoint.
How does the committee feel?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a procedure already in place that we don't know about.
I don't think there is, or we would know about it.
Okay, that's good.
Are we the only committee that got switched to being
No.
advisory? There were other committees too?
No, there are one or two others, I can't remember who they are.
But it would be nice to hear Maurice or whoever's, take on it, take on your idea.
You can come to our special meeting in February.
I think he plans
Oh,
to.
we're gonna talk about this again?
Not sure.
In February, it will be Horton Street.
Traffic calming.
Yeah,
Alpha is
traffic
working
calming,
on
which
that now.
eventually will be done.
Then we
One
might
of
have.
these years.
We might
This
have-
year.
This year?
We might have time to put something else on that.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
I still have
So
a
you-
motion out there,
So, I'll second it.
and I'd like to recommend
Maybe-
directly
maybe-
to them
maybe,
that
yeah.
we put yields straight through there.
So I have a comment.
If we have to work at, and negotiate, fine.
I think it's a good idea to do something to enhance the safety of those intersections, and I really like this report. I'm just looking at it for the first time, but it seems really, I think their recommendations are really thoughtful. And yields, I don't see yield signs in here, did I miss that?
Well, if you
Was that
look at
one
the
of
section,
options?
on page 39, 37, for instance, is one, for 65th, they'll say,
This is it right here.
So you like the trail crossing signs?
yeah, it says marked by
They
the,
like that?
Oh,
Trail
yield
crossing
to-
doesn't mean
okay.
yield to the driver.
I mean, anything, does it?
Well, to the driver, it doesn't mean anything. It just means announces that there's a trail. Doesn't mean the driver has to stop. Maybe that's what it really means, but not to.
So maybe you
not
put
to
a
the
trail
driver.
sign further up and then a yield sign.
I guess.
But I still think that's gonna confuse people, and somebody's gonna get hit.
Well, I want to say that I feel personally a little conservative here, only because what's there now is working better than what was there initially. The little signs in the middle of the street, I think those do slow down cars because it narrows the lane and they have to go slower, and it's a recognizable yield to pedestrian sign. And for me as a bicyclist, I've found that I feel I'm having a much better experience of crossing that street. It's not perfect, and you're right, and I'm very cautious. I do slow down and either stop or come almost to a stop before, make sure that the traffic sees me. But I don't do it, I'm bolder than I was because most cars are stopping or, they're approaching with caution. So I feel like I wouldn't want to, whatever we do, I would want to be sure that it's going to enhance, and I wouldn't want to lose what we already have. I wouldn't want to do something that would then knock us down to a lower level. And maybe a yield sign would be better, I don't know.
I'd like to create a right of way.
Right.
for the trail
I think
users.
so too, but I think that a yield sign might not be enough because there aren't a lot of yield signs around, and I don't think drivers necessarily know what they are.
To pass their driver's test, they're supposed to know what the hell they are.
That
They should.
I mean, seriously, where is there a yield sign? In Emeryville or near Emeryville, I can't think of one location.
There's a few of them around.
So
I
you
know
We're in
there's-
Right
Circle.
now, there's a
Street,
yield
like-
to pedestrians
Yeah.
right in the middle of the intersection.
We're in Circle.
That's what's there now, yeah, it's just this
The
thing.
Marine Circle.
It's that, and which
Yeah.
is a pretty
There's a
common
merge
sign,
and
is
there's a-
around the
Yeah.
area.
I don't know the
Right.
difference between
I-
a yield and a merge.
I would
I
just
guess-
change that to yield
This is
to
radio.
pedestrians.
Yeah, but that's a state law,
Yes.
and it's not a state law.
I have a motion on the table.
National
National
standard, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You
I
gotta do an
guess that's my
alternative.
only
Take a
hesitation
look.
with this, it's that.
We're not gonna get this meeting over any day.
I would like us to meet.
We have a second on this one.
So,
We
well,
have a
we're
second on this
discussing it.
motion,
We're
too.
discussing
Yeah,
it.
we're discussing it.
But my
Absolutely.
inclination
Yeah.
is to wait and see what happens, what Berkeley does, and possibly then come and ask for that, because that's, that higher level of the flashing lights.
They're gonna
Yeah,
do,
that
well,
way.
we've
Because I think
suggested
that-
flashing lights where appropriate. And it might
Is
not
that
be
part of
all
your
three of those
motion?
intersections.
Yeah, that's in the motion.
Yeah, it's in the motion. I
But the
specifically
motion
added
is
that clause.
specifically asking for yield signs, so there is some dissent
Right.
about that, yeah.
So did
Yeah.
you,
Maybe we
did you
should-
specify where the yield sign should be placed?
The yield signs are for the car, for 65th
Well,
Street.
we- no, no, no,
no,
Motion
no.
just to do everything but leave the
In the
center.
middle.
Wherever
yield
traffic
sign in
engineers
place.
put it,
You're
before,
saying yes to
before
a
the
time
intersection.
saying,
No,
but
in the middle
leave
of the
center
intersection or on
yield
the
sign.
side of
That's
the
what you're
road?
saying, right?
I'm saying I'm not opposed to doing more, but I would hate to lose what we already have unless we get something like flashing lights, which I think would be a big step up and would be much more visible. But I wouldn't want to have a yield sign instead of what we already have.
And what do we have right now? We just
We
have,
have the painting in the
Standards,
roadway,
right?
the advanced
Standard
warning,
signs, yes.
the
But
zebra
not
stripes,
standard
and the
usage.
sign in the center.
and where would a yield
That's right,
sign
one
go?
instead of the other necessarily.
Where would a yield sign go before an intersection like this?
I'd say pretty much where the yield to pedestrian sign is.
So right in the middle of the intersection? The middle
In
of the
advance
street.
of it. No, on the right-hand side, yeah.
Well,
It would be on the sidewalk.
it would be on the side.
Yeah.
Well, that's different from what we
Where's
have
the
now.
shark?
She likes the stick in the middle of
I
the
like the stick in the
Yeah.
middle. I think
So
it
could we
slows
put a
down
yield,
cars.
could we put a yield sign in the middle?
A standard sign would be a metal sign.
And it would be,
Typically-
it would be hit by a truck within 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Or add bikes to the current thing in the middle of the street.
right. But you were saying you'd have to take away the word state
But you could take
law.
away the word, who cares if they're
You
signing?
think
So
that,
that's doable, yeah.
okay, well, could it
Yeah.
still be in the same format, the sign?
Yeah, I've seen those, or at least I've seen photos of those,
Okay,
yeah.
because I think that, there's something, I don't know that motorists read state law, but I think that sign is a visual icon that's very recognizable.
And that's
that-
right in the middle of the street?
Yeah, there's a picture of it on page 34,
Oh, okay.
36.
You mean when they have the flashing lights, they have the sign in the middle of the street? Like in Arizmendi,
Yeah, did they have the sign there too?
I think it's in the middle of the street.
Well,
Well,
why
that-
why
there's a
can't we
median
just
in
leave
the
those there and put a yield sign up?
That would be okay with me.
Leave,
But
Well, you leave those little drive-over things that you can drive over.
I guess my question
but
would
the
be.
yield sign would be on the side of the street, whereas right now it's in the middle,
Well,
what the sign
You
is in
can't
the
put a
Tom is
yield sign in
saying-
the middle of the street.
No, but you
Yeah.
could put it out to
Unless
bikes
we
and
put it,
cars.
unless we
There,
put a,
there's already yield to pedestrian signs on the right-hand side of the street,
right,
right, with where the shark's teeth are. right?
yeah.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
I guess you just can't see it in this photo.
Yeah.
Well, you can see it facing.
So you put a
west.
yield, a state mandated
Oh,
yield
I
sign
see.
that says,
Yeah,
and then it says 2 bikes and peds, or 2 trail
So
users?
basically, you're saying the yield sign is already there, it's just not one of those triangular yellow ones, it's a
Well, it
square
looks like
sign.
there's a triangular.
No, the yield signs are red and white.
On the left side.
Right, this
Red and
is a
white.
white, I believe this is a white sign with a red triangle in it that looks like a yield.
Oh,
And it says
okay.
yield to peds, it has an arrow pointing down to the shark's teeth.
So basically, we already have the yield sign, but it just says peds, it doesn't say peds.
Yeah, that's
Right.
the middle payment.
So we
Yeah.
could change it, the sign that's already there, to the yield,
Is that it all
one of the signs they recommend
I
or
think so,
add
I
bikes
should
to
see
it.
it in the photo.
Yeah, you can see the back of it on page 36.
Yep.
You can't see the other one, maybe.
It's at all 3.
Oh,
I think
the back
that
of
the
it, is
angled
that what that is?
parking
Well,
makes it
also
hard
in
to
the
see.
area, you see the shark's teeth.
Yeah, I'm looking at the vertical view of 66, and it makes a wonderful little pocket park right there at 66 for Vallejo Street. Put a merry-go-round there, or a fountain.
Not a fountain.
No fountain? No, okay. We want one of those at Ocean. That one.
So,
So,
There's a motion on the table.
is it still active or?
My motion has not been withdrawn.
I
So
didn't
you
notice.
think,
I want to add the yield signs.
well, so I think what I'm hearing is there already are yield signs, but
But
they
it says
just.
yield to pedestrians.
So basically, it would be changing those signs to add bikes, to say yield to bikes and pedestrians.
You have to yield to everybody.
If it says yield though, it's on the side of the road, this is in the middle of the road. That's the
So
difference.
your motion wouldn't get rid of what's already there. It would
You
just-
Yeah,
still
but
have
that's
both,
just,
right?
that's just a redundancy.
So-
You
so-
already have to yield to
So you
pedestrians.
would add the yield sign to what's already there, not take this away in place of the yield
Well, I
sign.
mean, I think that, Yeah, well, see, well, that's why I wanted a stop sign.
So it
On the cul-de-sac,
basically-
They yield on the other side.
What is your motion,
It's a big hit if it's
is
slowed
your
down.
motion to replace what's there with a yield sign
I
on the side of the
I wanna
street?
add legal yield signs.
You wanna add and not
Means that
take
they-
anything
that
away.
the
You,
Okay.
you want to
Vehicle
add
users-
the yellow triangle with the black type yield signs, or
No, they're white, right?
the ones that we?
Yeah,
there are-
so what's
okay.
shown, what they're kind of recommending here with a bike and
Yeah.
ped, this is a warning sign.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
letting the driver know you may encounter crossing peds and bikes. I think what you're asking for is the red.
Legal right
A
to
yield
force them to
sign, yeah.
yield to bicyclists and pedestrians and strollers and little dogs and little kids and all
Okay,
that stuff.
and
What's
there
the
already
green?
is one
Green
there.
is
just a
so
different
we
color,
just
just-
changed
It means the same thing.
It means the same thing, it's a warning sign.
I mean, I like the trail crossing sign. We already have those, or we don't have those?
We have yield.
We don't have those. That, these are their recommendations.
Well, they're also recommending that it say that the cross traffic doesn't stop.
Correct.
To
Right.
bikes.
And
Yeah.
we don't really want that.
So we want cross traffic to
Oh, I
stop.
guess that's what we're also saying.
But I think, did they have it in the report that one of the options would be to give the right of way to the
Trail
trail?
users?
Did they address that option?
They stated as kind of an underlying assumption.
Is it the right of
So
way
they say
belongs
to
to the
clarify
trail?
the intent that.
So it sounds like better signage would help clarify that intent.
Yeah, I think that's what that's how they outlined it. We are gonna come back about specifics later. I don't know, I mean, notwithstanding there is a motion about specifics, but we will have an opportunity to talk specifics again at a later date after the Berkeley.
I mean, so should I be restating this to say, it's our intent to give the right of way to the trail, not to the streets?
What if
So,
you restated the
folks,
motion?
there's the sign.
Oh,
So you can
right.
see.
Look at that.
Here.
It's, where
Oh,
is
yeah.
that? Bike lane ends, I think.
Oh, yeah, so it's not about,
It's a sad bike sign. So, yeah, could that same sign be changed to hourly?
Go back, you get back to that.
Do the left arrow.
Ah. I'll get it back. Don't look.
Well, so I wonder if that same sign could be modified, you know, the same format, just to include a bicycle insignia as well as a pad.
we can get any sign made that we want, that's legal.
So would that be what you're suggesting, is to take that same sign and add bikes to it? You're suggesting that
I
just
want
yield to all
it to
traffic.
be, a yield that people, in theory, universally recognize, not just a little diamond sign,
Right.
because it doesn't say yield on that. But then the other one is what, nice and low, right? Isn't it?
The sign that's out there already is not a traffic control device.
Right.
It just reminds people what the existing law is regarding yielding to pedestrians and crosswalks.
Yeah, it's a redundancy.
Right, so if you do want to change the traffic control device there so that road users are required to yield by law to everyone. on
And
the
you probably
trail.
need a state mandate.
You need a large size yield sign, a full
Yeah.
size one, and not just that.
It's like
added
this big.
bicycle.
Right.
So it wouldn't refer specifically to bicycles or pedestrians. It
Yeah,
just
that's
said
what I
yield.
wanted, I want the cars to
And that's
yield
what-
to everyone.
Yeah, and that's what,
It's changing the rules here, right?
What are the
Right,
rules?
Well, I mean, these are, whatever's proposed here is that 65th and 66th, the traffic going on the street has the right of way, and that the path has to
Well,
stop.
except not over
So-
pedestrians,
Except not on the
always have the right of
pedestrian,
way.
but it says cross traffic.
It says end.
Right.
They're
Oh, that-
proposing
it does
putting a
say
stop
that.
sign
That's
on the
Letting them
trail.
know that you have
So
to share.
we're trying to figure out how to put some control on there so that the trail would have, traffic would have priority without installing a stop sign for the cars, so that,
So that they have to stop all the time.
or even when there's no one
We would
there.
just swap the yield to pedestrian sign for a standard yield sign.
Right,
Which is, I think, what the proposal is on that.
that's what my motion is, to put a regular yield sign up there.
Why would it be trending if the cars had to stop?
Hmm?
Why would it be bad if the cars had to stop?
Right, I mean, right there, I think, especially on 65th, I think that's an appropriate place to put a stop sign.
I wouldn't say you need a four-way stop. If you have a stop on 65th, then you don't need a stop. for
Oh,
the-
maybe you're right on that.
for bikes. And maybe you need a stop sign for cars on 65th that says trail traffic does not stop. Cross traffic
Yeah.
does not stop. or
Anyways,
something.
shall we try for,
Yeah.
I'd like to call them for a motion on the yield sign proposal.
Can I make, before you call the question, I just want to put out one more idea. What if the motion were instead to ask staff to ask for enhanced treatment? To say, yes, we want one of these options, maybe a couple different options at different intersections, but we want that, and maybe have staff prepare a report, or maybe after Berkeley puts it, something that's a little more open. Just a thought.
Is that a substitute motion?
I could make a substitute motion that we ask for a
I
staff.
think we're just kicking the can down the road there. Letting the cars run over it and flatten it. To mix metaphors.
I guess I just want to make sure we're doing the best, the most effective treatment, and I would hate to do this if it would reduce our chances of getting the flashing
So a
lights.
substitute motion might be that we want to ask for a recommendation for treatment that gives the right of way to the trail.
Well,
Right.
I'm asking for right of way.
this is a specific way of asking
with
for
the
it.
yield
Right,
sign yet.
right.
Because it's supposed to be recognizable for everybody that has a driver's license in the state of California, or in the United States, for that matter. One could argue internationally.
I think there is one difference, though. A red yield sign actually means to stop.
If there's anybody in that,
Whereas the yellow doesn't.
Oh, okay. It means slow down.
I mean,
what the hell good
It
does
means to
that?
look out, whatever, but.
Look
but
out and
that's what-
sideswipe somebody?
The red one it's supposed to act like a stop sign when other vehicles or people.
Right, when there's anybody crossing, that's what I want it to be. I want the trail to have the right of way. All trail users.
So then the only thing that really needs to do
Hoverboard
is
people who are
change.
now legally allowed to use that.
So then the only thing that really needs to be what you're saying is to add a
Strollers,
bicycle
skateboarders?
to it in addition to the pedestrian.
And
Or
it
take
needs
the
to be
pedestrian out.
full-sized.
No, I think what the recommendation is to turn it into a big yield, big
Right,
red.
no, I understand.
Yeah,
All I'm
full-size
saying
yield
is,
sign.
the difference is if it's yellow, it doesn't mean stop.
He
Whereas
wants
red,
But it could be red.
I want the legally yield sign
you want
for,
a red yield sign?
yeah.
Okay, I
The one
didn't,
that the truck drivers recognize.
okay, so I should put that in this motion.
Yes.
we've not a second yet.
Yeah, we.
No,
Yeah, we have a
haven't
second.
that.
We just don't have a vote.
Are we done discussing,
I'm not making a substitute.
okay,
motion.
can we call the motion on this?
Good.
Anybody in favor of this?
I'm gonna abstain.
You're gonna abstain? But keep your hand up.
Just a point of order, if I may, that abstaining does count as a no vote in the rules.
I want more information.
That's
Okay.
fine.
So
Yeah,
it's
numerically,
1,
we're still
2,
fine.
3, 4, 5,
It's not on
6,
the-
6, 1, 6,
And during
6,
the-
0, 1, right?
601, yeah.
We're recommending
Where's the zero? What do
you.
you mean zero?
There, none
Zero
against.
no's.
6
Oh,
One
no,
no's and one
okay.
abstention.
One abstain.
Okay.
Phew.
Another
Couldn't get all
option
your
is to
votes
just
in the
not
first
vote.
meeting.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You always have the option
just
to
wanna
just
know
not
more.
vote.
Okay,
This,
are we done with this?
This report also said
Have we
that we
beaten this
were
one?
suggesting that we weren't doing everything we
Mathematically
could
has
for
the same
safe routes to
effect.
school.
Yeah. Yeah, can I say, I would love for us to take more time, this seems really good. And when you said, this issue of the Greenway crossings will come back, I would love to have us, if we could get this in our packet, just email to us again and use this as a reference, because I think they have some really good recommendations. And we might want to take a closer look at like how we could implement some of these, because their executive summary seems to have some really good.
But what I really wanted here was to let us, let staff and city council know that we would like to see the right of way belong to the trail users.
They said increase the proportion of CIP funds dedicated to bicycle projects. I like that recommendation.
Okay, so are we done with this item?
I would just like to ask about the safe routes to school. They were saying that we weren't following, maybe we weren't following through with everything
Mike,
or something. It was kind of like, it was like a middle grade.
Oh, on this?
Yeah, you know, they
Yeah,
have
that
the,
was, I believe that's an error. There are some
Oh,
errors
okay.
in here. The orange things are things I tried to get changed and didn't get changed. I
Okay.
believe that's an error. We're following through.
Well, so as far as safe routes to school and the intersection improvements on San Pablo Avenue, that's been bid out. We've had a pre-construction meeting. There's a long lead time for the traffic signal equipment, but it'll be underway in March. There's some hardscape work that will start maybe in February.
oh, okay,
So
I have
it's coming.
an orange sticky here that's a mistake on there.
okay.
Can I just say that one of the recommendations here that I thought was really good is to do some GIS mapping of current bike routes and proposed or opportunities or something. I think that's a nice way to visualize that for people.
Okay, are we done with this?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we gonna schedule a special meeting in February,
The
which
reason-
will be mostly for what? Open streets?
Important street traffic calming, yeah. So the consultant would come with preliminary ideas, plans, I
Will this
think.
be supposedly just an hour or so meeting, or what?
Supposedly.
Oh,
You've been to these meetings, right?
It's 7:15, we got 15 minutes here. And we don't have a police.
It depends on what else is
report.
on the agenda.
Yeah.
If anything.
So other things could go on once you have a special meeting, it's just a meeting, so
It's kind of up to you guys, unless we had something that really pressing, but I don't
Okay,
think we're going to.
I believe in order to schedule that special meeting, we need a vote of our members, and we need
I move that
affirmative
we,
vote.
I move that we have a special, I'll do the motion, I move that we have a
I'll
special
second.
meeting.
all in favor? Yeah, that was an easy one.
You guys always disagree.
Okay, so we're on to our informational items. We don't have police department statistics.
Is that
Joe?
unusual you don't have that?
Well-
He's been really good about it.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been coming, and I emailed him, and then I never heard,
You
and
might be out.
I don't know, I didn't
Yeah,
get
vacation,
any
you can be
messages
on-
like
be
that.
raining and they're dealing with
Um,
a bunch of traffic.
I'll have to find out what's up. But yeah, maybe there could have been something, related to police.
He has a GIS representation of a map showing where there have been collisions and injuries, and he was gonna bring that, so
Yeah.
maybe we can schedule that in addition for the
Mhm.
Is that the
special
one
meeting.
we also
Yeah,
saw a
okay.
map like that in one of these documents?
Yeah,
2009 to 2014?
2000,
What
oh
do
yeah,
we-
it was in this report, 2010
Yeah,
to
I-
2000.
Everything was on San Pablo Avenue or 40th.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
There may be different criteria, was that Switter's data? Maybe different criteria, but in any
Mhm.
case, we'll see what OPD has.
Okay.
Do we have to vote to
I mean,
include that in the agenda for the next?
Well, there's a
special meeting?
future item on the agenda. We can-
I think we do have to vote to put
Okay.
items on the agenda.
But that's sort of a
a
standing
standing
item.
item.
I don't know.
That's a standing item?
It's a
Fine, and
standing-
plus it's informational.
It's a standing item for regular meetings, but since
Uh-huh.
February is a special meeting, when we get to the item for future agenda items, since we, you guys can talk about, if you want to talk about.
Why don't we
do-
just keep the Greenway, the Horton Street all, like the whole meeting or something
Okay.
like that?
Okay.
Let them.
So then Joel
do
can
this.
come in March.
In
Yeah,
March.
let them come in.
Okay.
So then we're talking about the planning department?
And they didn't have anything for us specifically, and then Sarah seems to have broken her foot today, so.
Oh.
Seems to have or has?
She had a foot
Are
injury,
you sure?
and she texted me a photo of her foot in a boot.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
So, to say, I'm not coming.
Sure it wasn't false? I mean, was it really her foot?
I don't know, I'll get forensic experts on that. And on letter C, I have to apologize because I completely neglected to bring the matrix.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I don't have a lot that's new, except to say that the sidewalk project is essentially complete, which is what I said last time. There are few punch list items, mostly planters. Mike, is that it?
Yeah, I haven't been too involved in that project. I
Mhm.
think there's a PG&E utility that's holding up some sidewalk completion
Right.
on Adeline. That's all I'm aware of.
And the Christie signal, we expect this week, weather permitting, yeah?
What's right? Yeah?
And,
So the
Cypress-
Christie Bay Trail extension,
Yeah,
Yeah.
this bike signaling there.
So the new crosswalk at the retail entrance near Trader Joe's, and then also the left turn pocket from northbound Shell Mountain to westbound Christie.
It's gonna be so awesome.
So we're very close on that. And then you just gave an update on safe routes to school.
He's starting soon, yeah.
Anything on safe routes to transit?
That's done.
That's done. Are there other projects that people are curious about that I have neglected to update?
Should I mention the Bay Street lockers?
Oh, yeah. I was
I don't
Sure.
think we've officially
Sure.
said that they have next.
Well, they nixed it, and then they equivocated, and now
Bay Street next to
Bay
it?
Street got new management, and they're concerned about aesthetics. So then they were saying.
Those guys are concerned about us outside.
They were, so then she was saying, well, they would be okay back by.
Where nobody can see them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And furthermore, where our bridge will land, so
Oh.
we need that area for construction. So the Bay Street lockers are, it'd be like the old joke, they're on the roof, they're looking a little sickly, so we don't know. We have the option, if they do fail, and we've got another year and a half or two to finish this, of finding another location and working with them to use this grant. So I haven't given up the grant yet, but the signs are not looking good for placing it at Bay Street in this time frame. For the ones at Amtrak, the lawyers are talking, but it does seem like, well, I'm sure that one's going. It's just a question of the legal relationship of Capital Corridors and us in relation to the lockers. And it seems like right now, we're gonna drop our grant, they're gonna get the grant, and we're gonna fund them the matching amount we were gonna give. And we're out. Now they have to manage it, which they were gonna have to manage it anyway. But the legal relationship is so much cleaner if it's their grant and their locker. So it's all, bureaucracy, but those are gonna go in for sure.
How many lockers were going into Bay Street?
12. 3 pods of 4.
Well,
Why would you say no to free? It was free, right? I mean, they'd have to pay for maintenance.
They talk about real estate on their sidewalk. I mean, they have to buy, there's all these different uses vying for the same
Right.
spaces.
Yeah, all those little kiosks.
Yeah, but
and-
these
Right,
are people
but-
who won't let you park at the meters. I mean, they just
So,
really.
but keep in mind that when that bridge does come down, I don't know how long it's gonna be, but there are gonna be more bike amenities then at that time, so.
And on the other side, on Horton Landing Park,
Yeah,
also, like bike share, potentially.
Right, but I guess my question is, I would hate to see the city, if we have a grant that will cover the cost of these bike
Right.
lockers, I hope they could go somewhere else. I mean, could they go at
They
the?
can, she said that.
Yeah, could they,
Yeah.
yeah, so I would just wanna say, let's make a real effort.
We'll find somewhere to put them.
And, the Trader Joe's Mall, I don't know where else, but
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
It's such a great amenity to have.
It's hard to give up $30,000 of bike,
Yeah.
infrastructure.
We can't go fly somewhere and research bike facilities?
We can't fly, but a nice boondoggle, or no, what's the word?
Junket.
Junket.
yes.
Yeah, let's do some junketeering.
Yeah.
Come on.
it's difficult because of the private property.
Right.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
They can be creeps about it. Well, and then that stupid street is their private property.
But
Right.
we allow them to
The
collect
street
the
is
parking meter
ours.
money, so if we're allowing them to collect the parking meter money, I think we got something to say about it.
The street is ours. It's curb to curb
It's not-
ours.
Okay.
Well, why
So
don't we
if
go-
But the
it's
sidewalk,
curb to
that's right, the
curb
sidewalk
hours.
is there.
Yeah.
And that's why they have all that crap on the
So
sidewalk.
here's what we do, we say the street is curb to curb hours, we're gonna take a couple of parking spaces
Uh-huh.
and turn them into bike
Yeah, get some
parking.
parklets and some bike
Yeah,
parking.
it's the city's street, and unless you wanna
Okay,
put
now,
these
do we
bike
wanna try to
lockers
put
in.
that, do we wanna propose to put that on the agenda?
I make a motion that the city take 4 parking spots.
No, you can't make the motion now. This is not a
Oh, okay.
motion item. What you can do is that
I
you
move
put
that
it
they would
on.
put it on the future agenda as the city making a more aggressive stance, because I will say that.
Would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and as much as I really detest the Bay Street management and want to boycott them, I find myself over there. It is an amenity for the city, residents, and their bike stuff is better than it was, so instead of being hideous, it's abominable. And I think they have a lot of traffic, a lot of peds, but they could do so much better. They have a lot of real estate. And their policies make no sense. And I think if the city took a couple of parking spaces and made,
Corral or something?
yeah, bike corral or something like that, that would make a lot of sense. And it would get used, every bike parking
Darn
spot
right it
gets
would.
used.
Darn
And
right it
then
would.
some.
So,
And
so
again-
you're not talking about lockers?
No, I don't know if you could put lockers on the street, because I think you would have issues with not having space for the doors to open.
Right, no,
You
I'm
might
just,
have to take 10 or 20 parking.
so this is sort of like another.
But, and I also
Okay.
want to say that the thing about, you can't put the lockers in the back where they wanted to because of the landing, but they have had bike parking back there, and we only found out about it because we asked the security guard, and we went back there, and there was like a light pole obstructing half of it.
Mm.
People won't use that bike parking.
No, it's
because they
not,
won't know
doesn't
about
feel
it.
safe either.
Yeah, if
It
you look at
doesn't feel
old bike
safe.
racks from 20, 30 years ago, you realize how
What-
far we've gone.
When are we gonna recommend an ordinance that requires that any light pole in the city can be used for bike parking?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
There's a city that does that, and I think we can do the same.
Yeah, but what if it's blocking the public right of way
Well,
on the
as long
sidewalk?
as it doesn't
Well, I
block.
mean, anything's gonna have a reasonable thing attached to it, but I think we could recommend an ordinance that makes any pole usable for bike rack. I think San Francisco has that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Future agenda item. Okay, so do you actually want to,
I would like to move that we talk about ways that the city can go around Bay Street management and add bike parking facilities.
well,
in
that
Bay
would be
Street.
on the city part of the
Right.
street.
Yeah, let's put that on a future agenda.
Yeah.
And then the other future agenda item we have to approve here is putting the Stanford Healthcare Medical Center. Where is that going to be in here?
5800 Hollis.
Hollis and,
It's the, at the
Bureau
Greenway.
510 Bureau.
oh, okay. But that's just coming to us from planning,
That's
right?
coming in March, so there's no
We
We
action.
don't
to
have to
take.
do that. So
So
what
do
we
we
do
have
want
to
to
vote
put,
on the bike parking at Bay Street? And we could invite people to come from the management company. I don't
okay,
think
so
they
how
would.
do we state this? Information item or discuss?
I would like to do an action
discuss-
item so that we can do
Yeah,
a proposal.
an action item to discuss on-street.
Bike parking at Bay
Bike
Street.
parking at Bay Street.
That's great.
Makes sense.
We probably should have a specific recommendation, yeah.
Well, I
Well,
think that'll
we
come
can't
out
do
of-
that, yeah.
Right, right.
We will have a specific
Yeah,
recommendation.
that'll come out of it.
So we'll all be thinking about it on that. Okay, so,
And are you suggesting
Oh.
that for March specifically?
yeah, let's put that on March.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
Am I allowed to suggest potential agenda items?
I
or
don't,
should
I
just
don't
send
know
them-
if you can.
Send them to Marcy and Tom.
Why not?
Because he's
So-
not a member of the committee.
But the committee could decide if we want to take it up or not.
You got a
Right.
suggestion for us?
Yeah, an information item, Caltrans just released their Class 4 separated bike ways guidelines document, and it's really technical. And I think this group should know what that document has to offer, and so we'd be happy to bring a person in to kind of parse some of that information for you and let you know what it actually means.
So, the
and-
class 4 bike, class 4?
Yeah,
Which is separated by,
No.
right?
it's like a cycle track.
Cycle track.
Oh, cycle track, okay. I thought it was the other way around, the
It's-
numbers.
yeah.
One
So-
is a separated, right?
No, one is.
One is just Sharrows or.
Oh,
One is
yeah,
the
okay.
road,
They're
Two
calling it
is
two
separated.
is a bike
It's big, it's
lane,
a cycle track.
3 is separated, and then 4 will be a cycle track?
So
I don't know,
do you want to send it so I can distribute it? And
Yep.
do you want to put it on, it sounds like you want to spend some time mulling it, discussing it, right?
Yeah, it could be like a 15 or 20-minute item. The other one I was going to suggest is information, possibly action item about the bicycle traffic school bill, that new law that's in play in California now that enables police departments to offer a class alternative to a monetary fine. But that has to happen on the city-to-city level.
Right, right. Yeah, we actually announced that a couple of meetings ago. You might have not heard that one, but, okay, so,
We have to vote on putting the Bay Street bike parking on the
On
agenda.
the agenda.
I think we need a majority. That's all we need is a majority. We don't need
Yeah.
a second, do we? Okay, who wants to put it on the agenda? There, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
okay.
Can we
So-
also vote on recommending an ordinance that all street poles be used for bike parking?
Do you want to suggest that as an agenda
Yeah,
item? Okay. Do you want that on the March
yeah,
agenda?
March would be fine.
And you're going to do a little research as to who actually has these?
I'll do all of this.
Okay, so do we want that on the agenda for March? I guess we do.
Okay.
And I do want to say, one of the things that was floating out there, I don't think it's super urgent, but I don't want to lose it as a future agenda item that I think we approved was the bike yield law. The yield, use stop sign is a yield law, which is moving through San Francisco, and it got unanimous approval at this Board of Supervisors. I think the mayor's going to veto it, but I
Right.
think it's then going to come back and get overridden. So we could
So they'll
use
be
the text of
at
that
odds
law.
with state law.
Well, they can't make the law, but it's a suggestion for enforcement to the police department.
It's like smoking pot in Golden Gate Park,
Yes.
right? Lowest
Or every
enforcement
single
priority.
corner,
Huh?
or every single corner of it.
Yeah.
Every street corner in San Francisco?
Yeah.
So I never got the item that Ken suggested, I'm sorry. I was
That
writing.
we make any traffic or, well, you
Any
can't.
call.
Pole or parking meter would be, a bike rack, can be used for a bicycle rack.
Parking meter,
And street pole.
Sign pole,
Any
streetlight
so
pole,
street,
Yeah.
any kind of
traffic
pole.
signal pole.
Yeah, as long as they don't obstruct.
And you
Is
want to,
anyone enforcing that?
I don't know.
And Bay Street.
Bay Street
Oh.
does. But then that's
Those
on
aren't
private,
public
that's all on
poles.
private
Those aren't public
property.
poles.
They can continue to do
Yeah,
that.
they can continue to do that because they own the site.
Yeah, wait a minute, wait a
Yeah, they
minute,
won't let
we
you
allow
park
them
to
to
the-
collect the parking meter
to the
revenue. I
parking
mean,
meter.
that's a
Well, what we
big
could do is we
thing.
could get rid of the parking meters.
Well, then we don't have to allow them to
I know.
collect it.
And the-
That's
but we
right.
can put a
Pressure.
note on
Right.
there so that
Okay.
sometimes-
So-
Okay, wait a second, so,
all right,
I don't know
Ken's
if
item is March, the,
our other
yeah, Bay
discussion,
Street thing is March.
March.
Stanford Health Medical Center is March. That probably takes care of March,
Yeah,
I'm just guessing. But the items that Robert mentioned, or I guess, one, yeah, two, wasn't it two?
those might come a little later.
Mm.
They,
We'll vote on that.
Yeah, we might, some of these might
Okay,
have to
now,
get pushed back.
well, since it's after 7:30 and we only have a 2-hour meeting, I'd like to move to item 7, which is announcements and member comments. Because I know Ken had one.
Right, on Christie Avenue, when you're making a right turn onto Powell Street, right by the gas station there, there's a real big crevice between where the sidewalk, not the sidewalk, there's a little apron that comes from the sidewalk, and then where the pavement starts, there's a big crevice there that's very dangerous, I think.
Isn't that C-Clip fix?
On the
Public
far
way.
right lane?
Yeah, so if you're
Yeah, must
coming
be.
down Christie and you're approaching Powell Street, right by the gas station, when you turn right there's a big crevice there. And I think that needs to be looked at.
Any other items on that?
I have some,
Sure.
on the ramp that's over by IKEA, where there's been glass, or like, it looks like there's a car accident maybe like a month ago, and I've had to dodge the glass every time I pass over that ramp, going eastbound.
On the 40th Street Bridge?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's like a hubcap that's hanging out there, and then, so that's what kind of makes me think there's an accident. But the glass is something that makes me have to go into like closer into where the cars are driving. And I think other people probably do the same. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And is there a place that I can get that kind of feedback?
C-Clip fix.
Without waiting for the?
C-Clip Fix?
C-Clip?
Are you aware of C-Clip Fix?
No.
Online.
There's an app and it's online, C-Clip Fix. The Emeryville portal is called Engage Emeryville, but you can find it through C-Clip Fix.
Okay.
And then, if you're on site with your phone, it'll GPS it
Oh, cool.
while you're there. Yeah, otherwise,
You
you
can send
put in the
pictures,
address.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have location
Yeah.
Yeah.
Services
services
Okay.
activated.
enabled.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this is not really related to bikes, but I think it might be more connected to pedestrians. There's an AC Transit Community Workshop that's happening about the F and the J routes on Saturday, January 9th. And I think there's some changes that are happening that you might want to be vocal about if you ride any of those routes. And so that's happening here at the town hall from
They're
10:30.
Go ahead.
It's at 10:30 to 12:30 on Saturday, January 9th.
Yeah, it's on their website, AC Transit website, so you
Yeah.
can see their original proposal and then 2 or 3 alternate proposals, which are pretty interesting,
Hmm.
because it certainly affects Emeryville.
That's all I have.
Okay, are we done? I'm gonna adjourn.
Right.